Okay guys, so that last session was a mess. The car got really loud all of a sudden and started dumping fuel out this side, or at least it seemed that way. We couldn't figure out what was wrong. It just it still made power. It didn't sound like anything was drastically wrong, but we heard some loud noises. And also the air fuel gauge right there was completely black. So for all intents and purposes, it seemed like these air fuel sensors that you can see, if you look in there, there's one, and you can kind of see the other right on this side. And it seemed like one of those was bad, but then as we started working on it, let me grab a glove because it's real hot. We saw that the header can move pretty freely, which is not right. So when you look overhead, you can see that the header collector is not sandwiched anymore, and so the exhaust down here is not attached to the to the exhaust manifold, which is interesting because as we came out of our session, Dad goes, what is this? Is this belong here? And so this bolt was like melted into the headlight, and I recognized this because I had a similar issue on the passenger side where these bolts backed out and created an exhaust leak. So that kind of was the harbinger of what we ultimately found, is that this thing moves freely on its own. So what I'm doing now is I disconnected all the spark plugs, took the intake manifold vacuum hoses off for the brake booster and all that stuff. So then I've just taken out the nuts off of each of the exhaust studs, and so then I'm gonna take this exhaust heat shielding off, and then it'll expose the exhaust manifold and the collector, and then we'll sandwich those two back together, which is also interesting. As when I look down here, because I dropped one of the header mount bolts, I stuck a magnet down there and it actually picked up a second bolt. I know you only see one here, but Dad's got the other one. He ran to a parts store, so it was just interesting that it fell out and it stayed down in there. So so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish taking this all apart, and I'll let you guys watch as I do that. Those are free. Now there are some little washers that are stuck on there that I need to make sure I don't lose. Use a little pick to pry them free, and then the magnet holds them on. Stuck. Whoa, that was lucky that it fell right there. Normally those things fall into the cracks of nowhere and you never find them again. It's all free. And then even though this heat shielding is great, like I can put my fingers on it, it's not hot. Now everything else is very hot. But that heat shielding cools down so fast. They're amazing. Let me give them a shout out real quick. It's Alloy Racing Covers. They're awesome, and they actually like put your date manufactured, part number, your name on it. It's pretty cool. I'll give them a shout out. But I'm gonna put these gloves on because it is sharp. So when you pull it off, you can easily cut your fingers and put yourself in bad spot. Now let me unclip that so I can move that freely first, and then I can't remember. Oh, it's right in here, I think. There we go. Okay, so now I should be able to lift it out and up. Let me put the smaller gloves on. So I really just need protection. It's not that hot. I just need it to not cut my hands up. It's done a million times. That's not bad. Okay. Part of me wonders if yeah, there's 3 bolts. Okay, so now let's try and line those up. Sandwich them back together. I hear something rattling around in there. I wonder if the bolt's in there. Is that crazy? I'm gonna know. Yeah, I don't know how I'm gonna know that. I guess I can get a light and check. One bolt, that's it. Oh, okay, that's what that is. That bolt is still in. It's probably not secured, but it's in. So let's see if we can get this bad boy up. Here's one more. Ooh, that one's stripped out completely. It must have been the last one and I just rubbed it all. Man. Wonder if it'll still vibrate. Let's see if we can hear another one in case we got lucky in the last one. Fell in. We're the black flag for a courses cleanup. Please remember to let me show y'all exactly what I'm talking about. Because if you're watching this, you're a trooper for making it this far, so it's probably a pretty long video. So let me set you down for 1 second. Approximately 10 minutes. So there you can see the header. See how much this moves freely? That should not be the case. So you can see those empty bolt holes where they are no longer sandwiched together. So that's what caused my 0 readings on my air fuel. That's why I started dumping fuel, because the engine goes into like a preserve mode, so it dumps a lot of fuel to prevent it from going really lean. So that's what happened. Try to put this back in its mount, and I'll keep plugging away. I guess the next thing I could do is try and get it in place and start tightening one of the bolts. If I could thread it in there, that's going to be difficult. This could be really. I may have to wait till my dad gets here and then lift up on it, because that is going to be hard to hold that in place. I don't know how hot the headers are. Oh, they're cool. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I'm probably going to need multiple hands. So I'm going to pause you here, and we'll pick up whenever Dad gets back so that we can bolt that back together. Okay, so as you guys can see, we've got our exhaust bolts in that we were able to reuse. Then you can see the gold one back there. We got one more down in here on the right side that you can probably see, and then there's one more on the back side back in there, but I probably can't see that, and so we'll just finish up putting her back together so we can get out on track. All right, so the next thing is probably the exhaust shield. That's probably the next thing that we have to put on. Let's just make sure this gets out of here.
Put those on while you put the exhaust cover on?
No, that's okay. I mean, I want to be able to show all this. Plus, one of them came off, so we gotta thread that stud back in. Who is calling me? Unknown number. Alright, now let's get the stud in. We didn't end up missing much track time because there were people, someone went off and spilled fluid, so the track was cold for a while. So we really didn't even miss that much today.
Really good.
Yeah.
And you got to work on the course.
Yeah.
Get it ready for VIR.
Yeah, I was just prepping. That's all I was doing. Alright, I think that's everything. I connected the O2 sensor, all the spark plugs are hooked up. So they can see what we're doing.
How far in were you? Because now it's real tight.
I don't know. Can you not? I mean, I got it a few turns. I wouldn't say I got it tight. Okay, then don't go too far because we don't want it to.
I don't think it's threading in.
Okay, all right, then leave it be.
Looks like it's spinning, but it's not tight, so it doesn't feel like it's catching. Yeah, I don't think it's caught.
All right.
Well, that doesn't.
All right, so maybe you guys can see. Man, this is difficult to try and get this thing mounted. But this is what we're tightening. Is we're trying to get those bolts right there tight. And so we're getting all up in here.